Hey YouTube, this is your boy Big Al from Big Al's Barber Channel. On today's haircut, what we're going to be discussing is a zero comb over taper with no hairline and no lineup. Just a nice natural cut. If you like this cut, you like my channel, subscribe, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. It's all good. Thanks guys. The haircut we're doing on this young gentleman is a zero taper with a number 2 on sides, comb over with a beard trim. What I like to do right here is I start off with a number 4 and I just go right up the side of the crown, the side of the head, only taking off the bulk, taking off the excess amount of hair. So that way when I go back right now with my number 2, metal number 2, I could take it down nice and smooth and I won't have that much bulk to blend out later when I go clipper over comb. Right here I'm using my Austrian Model 10 with a number 2 blade, just going up nice and smooth up to the side of the head, taking out all the bulk, making it nice and even, right around the sides all the way to the center, preparing myself for the next step of clipper over comb. Right here I'm using my Andes T trimmer to create my guidelines, going around the ear, not really started on the beard yet, kind of just setting up my guidelines, going up the side, cleaning up all the bulk hair, trying to get myself a nice clean start. Right here I go to the other side, around the ear, like I said, not really worrying about the beard yet, going around the ear, just making up all my guidelines nice and clean. Right here in the back of the head, I'm creating my final guideline for the rear end part of my taper, making a straight line. I like to go about an inch and a half from the bottom of the ear, or the back of the bottom of the ear, and from there that's where I start my taper. Right here I'm using my wall machine with no guard on, zeroed out, clipper over comb. That's what I'm using to basically level it all out, make it blend in. So I usually start on one side, and what I do is I blend it all up and I gradually move my way around the head. Right here again I'm hitting it with clipper over comb, just blending out that bulk from the number 2 to the number 4 I started with. So basically what I'm doing is just blending it out from a number 2 to a number 4. Right here I'm using my number 1 clip with the guard open, which is a 1.5. I'm starting my taper and basically just blending out into the number 2, preparing myself for the next step, which is going to be to zero out the line on the side taper. I always start my tapers on the left side and move my way to the right side, and then I do the back side. In this step I start with my wall with no guard on, with the lever up, that's a half. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a guide. As I create my guide, I lower my lever just a little bit and I go back up but not quite as far. Then I lower my level a little bit more and I go back up again. As I'm doing this, I'm closing down and I'm gradually erasing and blending up and pulling up. Next I grab my half clip and I go back and I erase the guide that I created with my half clip, with my half guard. On the right side of the head I do the exact same steps that I did on the left side of the head. I start off with my 1.5 and I gradually lower my lever until I get down to my 1. Once I get down to my 1, then I pull out my half, once again, the open lever, and I create a guide, gradually lowering the handle down little by little and erasing the line, bending it all in until I get down. So here, now that we've done both sides, I'm going to start up here in the back. Using the 1.5 with the lever open, I'm going to do one side of the neck first and then we'll do the other side second, okay? 1.5 open, then I'm going to close it down, my lever closed, and we're going to hit it with a 1. The 1.5 blends into the 2, the one blends into the 1.5. After I hit it with the number 1, now it's time to hit it with the half. The half I go up. Once I go all the way across, then I lower it a little bit and go almost to the same spot. Once I do that, one more time, I lower half of that and go halfway up. Once I hit it halfway up, then I close it completely. Now I'm just hitting the bottom of the line, taking out that lower bottom line. Here I am with my half clip again, just lowering the lever slowly, gradually blending out the guideline that I created with my half clip. Right here on the right side, you do the same steps you did on the left side. Going up with your 1.5, lowering your lever down to a 1. Once you get down to the 1, then you go on to the next step. Right here I go back with my half clip. And with the lever up, I just gradually lifting up, erasing the guideline that I created with a half. Closing the lever, and again, just fading it out. Once I'm done with the taper, I like to grab my trimmer, and I like to go back and do some detail work. First on the right side, I'll clean up and make a nice little sharp line. Makes your taper look clean. Then I'll spin my trimmer around, and I go back and I'll just clean up the bottom line. Make sure I don't leave no line down there. Then I'll turn it around and I'll do the other side, just making the taper look nice and clean. Back in the day, this used to be called a 2-line taper. Now that we're done with the taper, it's time to add some water and get the top wet so we can start some scissor work. As you can tell, I'm very generous with the water. I like to get the hair nice and moist. As for me, it's just easier to control. That way when I do my cutting, I can see where I'm laying all the hair down. Once I comb the hair to the form that I needed, I grab my scissors and I start my technique. What I like to do is start right in the middle, pull up, and create a guide. I take one swoop with my scissors, grab another piece, same guide, same height. Then I go back, and as I go back, I go a little bit lower. And as I go back to the back of the head, I go even lower. And then I go to the back, I go even lower. So I start high and I go low. Once I'm done with that center guide, now I go on the right side. I do the same thing. With one swoop of the scissors, I'll take a guide. Then I'll move my way back, taking a little bit more. As I get to the farther back, I take more. What I like to do in this section of the haircut is I like to crisscross on my hair. Once I go from front to back, I like to go from side to side. What I do is I do it in 3 sections. What I do is I lift up a guide, and I usually can tell what I missed from when I went from front to back. As you can see, I'm lifting up the hair, and there's always jagged edges, which means that I missed when I was going from front to back. This allows my hair to lay down more flat and more evenly. Once I'm done with my scissor work, what I like to do now is go back with my clipper over comb and do a little bit of detail work. What I do is I blend the sides, which was the number 2, up to the top where I just finished my scissor work. Once I'm done with the right side, now I go to the back of the head and I do the same thing. I just blend it in from the number 2 to the top, just making it look nice and clean, nice even. This is all detail work right here. All I'm doing is just blending the sides, making it all so it looks nice and clean. Once I'm done with my scissor work, what I like to start off now is do a little bit of detail work, which I come in with my trimmer and I clean up all the little hairs and get ready to shave them down with a straight razor. Once you're done with your trimmer work, then it's time to lather them up and use your straight razor. This is the final finishing touches on a good haircut before you do a little bit of detail clip over comb to clean it all up. This is a step that separates you from a normal barber to an excellent barber. You should always use your straight razor when you're cleaning up somebody's neck, unless they request that you don't do it. The more attention you pay to this detail work, the better your haircut will come out. Once I'm done with my straight razor work, what I like to do next is style the hair up on top. What I like to use first is some Suavecito grooming spray. And what I do is spray a generous amount on top. I grab my blow dryer, and what I do is I start using my roller brush, and what I do is I just roll the brush from left to right. As I continue to blow dry the hair on high, all I'm doing is just rolling my roller brush, rolling it, lifting up the hair, and blow drying it, putting some volume on it. Getting ready to add some Suavecito pomade to give it that nice, beautiful lift. If you're a new barber, this is your opportunity to talk to your customer and explain to him how you're styling his hair. Explain to him the product you're using and what he needs to have in order to get this kind of haircut when he gets home. Once I'm done blow drying, what I like to do now is just do one little fine comb over. Just comb it to the side, make sure it's nice and set before I add my pomade. What I'm going to do now is go one last time, clipper over comb, detail work. Just going around the sides and making sure that my taper blends into the top of my hair. This is probably one of your most important detail spots. This is where you're going to blend in the sides to the top. Make sure that there's nothing sticking out before you add your pomade and your haircut is done. Once I'm done with my clipper over comb detail work, the next step is to get your Suavecito pomade. Get a generous amount, rub it in your hands, and rub it through the hair. Try not to stick your fingers through the hair and mess up the volume that you created. Just kind of more applying it on the top coat and on the sides a little bit, and then combing it through. What I do now is I get my comb and I start combing it through and I start shaping, getting my little lift volume in the front and flat towards the back. Once I'm done applying my Suavecito, what I do is grab my clipper over comb and do my last detailed clipper over comb session, making sure that nothing sticks out and everything looks nice and clean. I could easily say in 2017 I did more comb over tapers and fades than I did any other haircut. This is probably the most popular haircut. If you're looking for a nice gentleman cut, this is the cut that I recommend for you. That's pretty much it for this haircut, guys. If you like this haircut, please leave me a comment below. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be coming out with more haircuts for you new barbers or older barbers or any kind of barbers out there. I just want to help out and do my part for this industry. Thank you, and thank you for supporting us, guys. Appreciate you.